Hi there, it's Dr. JOYLYN Sparkles, and welcome to your Power Hour. This is your time to put what's on your mind on my mind, and we will put our heads and hearts together, and we will go from some level of stuck to happy as fuck together in these next 30 minutes. So welcome. I am super excited to be here today because for those of you who are new to the group, or for those of you who forgot, once upon a time, Happy Hour was here every Wednesday at noon Mountain Time. It's 11 a.m. It's Pacific Time. I'm in California now. And we switched platforms and had a fun little experiment starting at the beginning of the year. And I decided I just liked this better. I like this platform. I like being able to talk to more of you at once and not have to work so hard to draw you off of a place where you already are, and it's easy to connect. So this is a special Power Hour because it's the first one here in the Happiness Clinic group on Facebook of 2022. So how exciting is that? And what a fortuitous time, because for those of you who may or may not be aware, we are in a very potent time. You might be getting this in other ways, but both astrologically, energetically, the Schumann resonances, meaning the Earth's heartbeat, like lots of things are just off the charts. And when this happens, it's not a surprise that things like the tragedy in Texas happen as well, because the pot is getting stirred. And a lot of people do not know how to handle emotional intensity. I know that's where I was and where I started and how I felt so broken. And so what this group is for is to get the tools so that you can emotionally regulate, because we think that those things are so outside of our scope and we could never be those people, and those people are so far removed from us. And yes, to a certain extent they are. But at one point, they were where we were, and it just got worse and worse. And there was no trauma healing. There wasn't a co-regulator who could help them soothe and recognize that they were safe and come out of those brainwave patterns, and just left to their own devices, driven farther and farther into egoic isolation. Because the ego is all about identity. And as such, it functions completely alone, because how it gets its identity is not being someone else. It has to know it's an individual, it's special. There's a functionality to that, but left to its own devices can go too far, and we become isolated, we depersonalize, we can dehumanize to where it becomes easier to take actions like harming and killing other people. But please do not use this event as evidence that all is lost. It always happens when there's this big upheaval. And how we know this is, I imagine that you on some level, like me, have had a lot of emotional churning going on over the last couple of weeks. And it's been intense and it's been hard to handle. But when you get the tools and you understand what's happening and understand that there's also a collective movement going on as well, it becomes easier and easier to go with the flow and not get swept away with it. So take hope. If it's intense for you right now, and if you're wherever you are in your journey, if you've been doing this for a long time and you're happy to be riding the tide and seeing how much different you are than who you used to be, congratulations, that's awesome, and share that with the group at any time. If you're just starting out and you see yourself continually face planting and fucking up, that's okay too. That's the only way to actually get to mastery. You actually have to do it and be willing to be bad at something in order to be good at it. I am doing my very best to shortcut that and short circuit it so the time it takes from absolute suckage to mastery is not as long. but I have not figured out how to take out the practice element, the awkwardness, and just the being bad at it at first. It's going to be that way for boundaries, for communication skills, for self-love and not judging yourself. These are all actually skills. They can all be learned. We can practice them for them to become our new normal, but we're going to have to wrestle a little bit at the beginning. So what I really wanted to talk for today, oh yes, and get used to this. It's called Power Hour because I can stuff 60 minutes of information into 30 because I talk fast. And instead of a drinking fountain where you get little sips, you're just going to get a fire hose and you will let it just kind of soak in as it will, as the days and weeks go on, because there's so much information I deliver at one time, and I have not been able to completely eliminate that, but why would I want to? I want to give you as much as possible so we can go farther faster. But that's where at any time, if you've got questions, let me know, because then I can address those things in other power hours, or we can have a call for clarity and see if there's something else that will help ease your process. So yesterday I had to do a presentation and I talked about curiosity. Curiosity, like gratitude, is an alchemical agent. It really, really fundamentally changes things. And when we are in a process of moving from some level of stuck and trying to get to happy as fuck to where that's our lived reality, is happiness is real, it's here, it's the daily, it's my new normal. The stuckness inevitably, always, is indicative that it's missing you. Some element of you is not there. Whether it's a calling for an up-leveling of self-love, which generally is, releasing an outdated identity, being willing to learn a new skill and up-level so you can become the next version of yourself. And sometimes, a lot of times, it's a superpower. It's something that you actually have conscious control over, but you don't know that yet, so you are only having unconscious control of it, and so it's kind of working backwards, turned inwards, and so you're getting kind of the opposite result of what you'd like. So any of those of you with financial struggles, take heart, because there probably is a gift with money that you haven't figured out, judged yourself for. And so when you start to reveal it and play with it and start to learn how you work with money, it comes out and things get a lot better. The same will be for communication, learning how to make friends, conflict resolution, changing your body. Anywhere that you feel stuck, there's a gift that you have and it's just turned in the wrong direction. And so it's a simple, not always easy, but simple shift, and then you get the results that you'd like. You get to start working towards mastery. One of these superpowers that is inherent to you by virtue of being in human form and having a human brain is curiosity. Because curiosity is something that only us high-level functioning people have, not just vertebrates, but, intelligent vertebrates. And it's something that we can direct. We actually get to choose how to direct our curiosity and what we pay attention to. Our subconscious will have some control. There's the reticular activating system. That's going to kind of turn your head and get you to pay attention to certain things. But there's an interplay there to where you can do top down or bottom up, and they're both happening. But the more and more that we get this under conscious control and direct our subconscious, the faster we get it working for us instead of against us. And how we work with curiosity is mainly through questions. Questions are actually tools. They can actually even function like prayers. You can ask for what you'd like. Ask and receive is actually real and true. But what a lot of us have been doing is asking what I call broken questions. Things like what I did for the first 30 plus years of my life and ask, what's wrong with me? I was seeking to understand and have a very intellectual knowledge of why I was chosen for the abuse that was given to me. Because I thought that if I could figure that out, if I could figure out what was wrong, I could fix it and then the abuse would stop. But here's the thing about abuse. It's not really so much about me. It was about the other person. So there was never anything wrong with me. I just spent over 3.5 decades looking for something that wasn't actually there. Other ones that we and myself have used is, why can't I get it right? Especially anybody working with entrepreneurship. Some people are naturals at it, and some people like me, that's not how my brain works. I don't do mathematical calculations the way that everybody else does. I don't do business building the way that everybody else does. I would watch and hire coach after coach after coach to teach me all of these different systems and wonder, why can't I get it right? Why couldn't I get it right? Because it wasn't right for me. I was missing. I was trying to put someone else's system in place and run it as if I was them, but that's not going to work. We have to find out what's going to work for us. This is why there are so many diet plans out there. And you can see that some people have had success with them. And why don't you? Well, because it's not for you. Either not for your body at all, not the right time, something else needs to get adjusted first. There's a million things. But why can't I get it right, or what's wrong with me? Those are broken questions. Or even when we are concerned and loving, we ask people, what's wrong? And so we're actually in that way directing our curiosity to a problem and to the past. And in that way, we unintentionally appreciate it. And here's what you need to know about appreciation. What you appreciate appreciates. That means it gets greater. And how do you appreciate something? You pay attention to it. How do you pay attention to it? You get curious about it. How do you show you're curious? You ask questions. So if you're asking about what's wrong, you're appreciating what's wrong, so you unintentionally energize that. And then create more of it. Fucking phenomenal, right? Why didn't anybody tell us this is what's happening? Dr. Joe Dispenza can highlight it beautifully with research for those of you science nerds like myself who like that stuff, so his books are good. But just, we have lived experience of this. And so instead of using these broken questions and searching for what's wrong, searching for where I am in error and how I am flawed, and paying so much attention to a problem in a past that I can't change or fix, that a lot of times wasn't even mine to change or fix, we can change that by redirecting our curiosity by using a question that works. And one of my favorite, that if you get into the 6-week Get Unstuck and Happy as Fuck Challenge, Happiness Brain Training, the 90-day relationship remodel, anything, I'm always going to ask you one of 2 or 3 questions. How do we want to show up? When I think of me and who I am, and this is my idea of me, how do I want that to be? How do I want to show up here? It's not an emotional basket case anymore. It's not a raging anger ball. It's not a pathetic mush ball who just can't get her shit together and is pathetic and needs everybody else to pick her up and hold her up. I've done all of those. Very unattractive. I don't like them. I want to be badass. That's willing to face the tough stuff and not let it be a big deal, because I'm the big deal and my future's the big deal. So how do I want to show up? Confident, powerful, easy to be around, calm in the eye of the storm. And it's funny, I've always been able to do that when there's a big storm, but when it's little shit, then I get all scattered and stuff. So we've all got our stuff to work through. Okay, so how do I want to show up? We can also ask what is working, because a lot of times we're just so focused on fixing the problem, because that's how our education system and all of our modeling and programming have taught us to study the problem and then somehow the answer will arrive. That happens every once in a while. But really, we just start to get fixated on what's wrong, when really we can ask what's working and do more of that. This is where a lot of sports teams are having more success, is actually looking at what is working, because then you're actually inspired and motivated by your success, and you will naturally start to work on your weaknesses because you just want to get better instead of somebody telling you you should or feeling like you should because this isn't good enough. It's a motivation coming from an entirely different place that fuels itself, so it doesn't require so much willpower and effort. Sound nice? I think so. Another one I like. Oh yeah, Thomas is in brain training. It's working for me. It's working for everybody. Happiness brain training, and it's coming up on a new platform. So the big push is going to be getting in June. So definitely talk to Thomas, or there's Selena and a couple of other people in the group. You can ask them about their experience. Ask me any questions. I would love to have you in, and so we'll get you in soon. Thank you, Thomas. I've also asked what brings me joy, because we are our most authentic selves when we are operating from joy and bliss. What would unconditional love do here? Because a lot of us only know conditional and broken love, and we really don't have a good idea of what unconditional love would do or be, so you just ask for the information that you'd like. And another question that will work is, how can I help things go right? Again, we do so much to correct and avoid problems instead of actually looking at what's going to nurture a relationship, what's going to generate optimal health, and do more of those things instead of trying to correct things. It's like waiting to get a disease and then trying to put out all the fires and deal with all the symptoms instead of doing the preventive medicine and eating a colorful diet that is vegetable-based with healthy fats, stopping when you're full, enjoying good company when you're around, chewing slow, like all of those things, using food as medicine, changing these limiting self-beliefs so that it doesn't have to manifest in disease. How do I help things go right? And you'll find that when you do that, a lot of it will be release this junk that's not working anymore, okay? Just be prepared, all right? Okay. But here's something else that's fun about curiosity. When we're curious, our brain actually releases dopamine. So for any of you nerds who like brain physiology and biochemistry the way that I do, dopamine is part of the reward circuit. It's what the rats, why they would take the cocaine-laced waters, because they would get dopamine. That's why cocaine works. It releases dopamine. Okay, it's the reward pleasure circuit. But what we actually know now is you actually release dopamine in anticipation of the reward. You don't even have to have the reward. It's the anticipation of it. So what's interesting is that when we are curious, we're actually in anticipation of discovery. And so our brain releases dopamine, and what dopamine does is actually turns on, it hits these receptors in your brain and turns on the learning centers to where we become more motivated to explore and we're open to new information. So our brain waves are going to be closer to alpha, to where we're receptive. It's not going to be beta, where we're having to try to filter everything and shoot holes in everything, and we're stressed, and the reason is you. You're the reason things aren't working. We're open to information and being like, aha, those kind of moments. Curiosity is what starts that flow of dopamine. Okay, so it's curiosity is the beginning of change. Okay? Then, also, a fun fact, dopamine is one of the main three neurotransmitters associated with love. You've got dopamine, because it's rewarding, it's pleasurable to be in love. Norepinephrine, which in your brain helps you to sustain focus, and in your body will give you that woozy feeling. That's why you can't think about anybody or anything else when you're falling in love and you lose your appetite. You get lovesick, right? And then oxytocin, that's your bonding molecule. That's where you're going to feel the affection and the closeness and really bond. Those are the three for love. But curiosity and dopamine is a huge part of that. Now, how we can use that then is if you're in a relationship with a partner or a spouse or a plant or a pet and things are maybe getting a little bit stale, get curious about who they are now. Because not one single person, plant, animal is absolutely static and hasn't changed since the time you first met them. So get curious about them internally, and then you can even ask questions and get new information. But here's what's also magic. So many of us don't know self-love, and so it's this thing of, oh, do I paint my nails? Do I get a massage? Maybe I buy myself an extra fluffy cheesecake bite today. I don't, what is this self-love thing? It can be those things, early bedtime, reading a book, taking a bath. But really, it's getting curious about you. Who am I really? I am not just the accumulation of events that have happened to me. I am not. I haven't ever been, even when I told myself I have never been, nor will I ever be, only a collection of trauma patterning. I will never be just my mother's daughter or my identical twin sister's sister that looks just like her. I'm never going to be just that. I am so much more than that. Who are you? Who are we really? We're fucking divine. We are God, incarnated in a neat little separately packaged figurine with movable parts, voices, eyes, ears, so that we can manipulate and move things in this three-dimensional reality. We got a three-dimensional meat suit so that we can do shit in this three-dimensional reality. Because our soul was curious. Our own freaking curiosity made us real. Just like the Velveteen Rabbit, the love made him real. Our curiosity, our own love made us real. So get curious about, who am I as a soul? What was it that my soul wanted to experience here? What can I do as me that nobody else can do? What did I come to bring? I know for me, part of it is a voice for happiness. We've been talking trauma, anxiety, PTSD, ADHD, depression, anxiety for a long time, but when have we talked about happiness when we're talking about mental health? I want to put it there. I like to make people laugh. I think if you can laugh, you've already changed it. So I've done some comedy work, and I'm going to bring that into presentations and workshops that I do. I always do. I am a fucking truth bomb. I don't do bullshit. The only person I do that with is myself because I don't recognize it. That's the gift of having other people and coaches in my life. But I will tell the truth. And I am not going to stand by and allow people in my presence to actually believe that they are worthless and powerless, because it's just not true. Now, I'm not going to yell at you and lecture you. I might have done that in the very early days when I didn't really understand, my communication. My coaching has gotten so much better. To where you're not going to get lectured, you're going to get edutained, okay? You're going to get educated, but it's because you're receptive and you're ready. It's not going to be an abusive. It's not because you should change. It's because you're ready to change. You just don't know fucking how. We didn't have the models. We are all learning how to do something that we don't know how to do. How do you love yourself? When the people that we grew up around didn't know either, so they couldn't show us. We got to figure this out because it's time. Because it hurts too much to not. And because the world is suffering. And confident people are easier to be around. Hurting people hurt people. Happy people heal people. Let's do that. It's just a more fun way to live. Let's all learn how to handle our emotional shit so that there's no temptation, absolutely no way that even on an energetic platform that we are contributing to what happened in Texas. We can pull our twig out of the fire. We can be less reactive. We can enjoy more peace, calm, and space in our own lives. This is the value, and it starts with getting curious about how you want to show up. Who are you really? So think about that, because this is an amazing power hour, all about a superpower that you already have because your brain functions, you're already curious. But how we've come to know ourselves and so easily placated and just think it normal that we're our worst critics and our worst enemy. And what if that's really just because we've been in love with our flaws and problems, because that's what we're always asking about and paying attention to. That's what we're always interacting with. So how different would our lives be if we became our own best friend and the leader of our life, and we were the ultimate creator and power source? We do that by getting curious about what that means, what it's going to feel like, where we would like to be, what we want to create. What did I come here for? What am I good at? What is going right? How do I help things go even better? If we started getting curious about that, everything is going to change. Everything that you're going to see on the external and feel on the internal will change. It's going to start with getting curious. And here's what's fun. It doesn't have to be in any reference to the past. It can actually be from this very moment. What would I like to have as my life? What would I like to create? What do I want to choose? What sounds like fun? How do I want to show up? If you've never been, if you've never seen anybody be it, it doesn't matter. If you're curious about it, it can be possible for you. And once you're curious about it and start asking about it, the universe will recognize your question and it will start delivering models. People like me who are talking about this stuff. People in your workplace who you recognize, they do boundaries really well. Like, they can set one and I don't feel like crap. They're not making me feel guilty about it. They're just holding space for themselves. Like, I want to know how to do that. That was one of the gifts of my best friend's Dana in medical school. She was good at that. I loved having her in my sphere because I watched her. I finally had a model of somebody doing that because nobody I grew up with did that. It was all about this codependent, making people feel guilty and emotionally manipulating. She didn't do that. She held her space, but you weren't wrong for anything you were asking or feeling. It's amazing. This is going to start to show up for you. And then all of a sudden, as Thomas will tell you in brain training, you're going to start seeing you express that way as well. And you're going to be like, who the hell is this person? I've never even known myself as this. And that's when it gets really, really exciting. And then it's like gas on fire, okay? So this is my invitation to you, to use your curiosity, your superpower of curiosity, and this highly beautifully developed brain and all the physiology and dopamine and everything to start working for you so that you can have the life that you'd like, to have the confidence you've always dreamed of, so that you can actually truly go from being stuck to happy as fuck. It's absolutely a possibility, and I will help you get there in any way I can, starting with inviting you to be curious, all right? And Happiness Brain Training is going to open next week as soon as I get all the back-end shit done. That's my plan for this weekend. Oh, fun for me, and I'm curious about how easy that can be. See? Use the questions that are going to work for you, okay? I have absolutely loved being back here in this group. I can't wait to hear your feedback, your questions. Let me know, #replay if you're getting the replay on this. If there's anything you want me to go over again, clarify, I'm here for you because it is time, my darling empath powerhouses, to stop shrinking and be completely, fully, powerfully expressed, because the world is begging for you. And it is my joy and delight to see you open up to the world, okay? And I will contribute to that in any way that I can, be it here in Happiness Brain Training, 6-week Get Unstuck Happy as Fuck Challenge, 90-day relationship remodel, or even if you've got a group and you want me to present this way to your group so that we can all become like a ripple effect of healing and power and fun and happiness and laughter, okay? All right. I love you madly, and I can't wait. I'm already looking forward to next week. Until then, mwah, I'll see you.